Hi, I'm Greg Wasinski, and today I'm here with Catholic performing artist Michael James Mette. Michael, welcome. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much, good sir.
We're here to talk about his new album, Between the Lines, and I can tell you that I've had a chance to listen to it. It is some of the best work that you've done so far, and I'm excited to talk to you about it today.
Me too, my friend.
Before we begin, tell me a little bit about the ministry. What's new? How are things going? What are you guys up to these days?
Right. So, as you know, we travel the country. About 4 years ago, we decided that God was really calling us to share our faith on kind of a broader level. And so we started traveling as a family. Before that, I would travel out myself, and it just was not excellent. So we started traveling together as a family, and over the last 4 years, we've been to 44 of the 50 states, and we played over 300 different events. We've done a ton of ministry all over the place. And really, the ministry has grown from just me kind of as an acoustic guitar player, serving different events, to being its own standalone event that really has become somewhere between a rock concert and a parish mission. Right. And so now we have this whole lights and video set up, and my two daughters join me on stage. We're getting ready to welcome Charity, our third daughter, to play drums.
Wow.
That's going to be awesome. And my wife shares some of her testimony. So we really have something for everyone in our events. And that's one of the things that's been a great blessing, is to see how it really is a multi-generational event, and some things that we never thought of, like it really reaches out to Hispanic communities, you know, and it really has brought like the Anglo and Hispanic communities together in a lot of places. So
music transcends.
It really does, yeah. And the new album, we recorded 3 songs in Spanish too, actually.
Wow.
So yeah, we got good. I mean, God keeps rocking our world. So go Holy Spirit.
Now, for people that maybe aren't aware of the experience that you offer in the concert, you have a neat tagline. That what is the tagline?
It's passionate like a Friday night and reverent like a Sunday morning.
So explain that a little bit for people. What is really behind that?
Well, I try to create music, and it's not liturgical music. Like when people think of Catholic music, a lot of times they think of what we sing on Sunday mornings.
Right.
And it's not that kind of music. It's contemporary. It sounds like something you'd hear on secular radio, but it has Christian and Catholic themes specifically. So a lot of the songs were written to where you could listen to them in any environment.
Sure.
But as a Catholic, you would be like, oh, that's thinking with a sacramental imagination. You know, that has another richness to it that reinforces and reinvigorates our faith. And so in the live experience, we kind of break that open some more and tell the stories behind the songs and explain and peel back some of the layers of the symbolism that we show.
For you, what does it mean for you to have somebody who's heard your music connect with it for maybe a crisis or a time that they're struggling in their own life?
Well, that's huge. You know, every once in a while we'll get an email or a message or something that it really helps somebody through a hard time in their life. And as an artist, I have to say I'm so humbled to think that God has placed me at this intimate intersection in their life. So it's very humbling when you hear those stories that people said, that song, that really helped me when my father passed away.
Right.
That song, you know, that really helped me whenever I was struggling with depression. That song, you know, was on my mind whenever I was getting married or something. You know, like those are really humbling experiences to think that God has allowed me into their lives in that way.
That's neat. And I think that one of the other things that you do as a ministry that is beautiful and that really people should understand is that the fact that you travel with your family brings a different element. We'll get to the show in a second. But with your family in a day and an age where families are torn apart, not torn apart in crisis, but just schedules.
Sure.
You know, where we're consumed with our time, and even the dinner table where it's full of electronic devices. I think that your family inspires people to want to grow together. What has it really meant for you to begin to travel as a family as opposed to just being an artist by yourself on the road? Right.
Well, it started off kind of as a necessity, because we said, if God's calling us to do this music and this ministry, and at the time it was just like, if God's calling me as Michael James Mette to be an itinerant musician, how can we make that work with 4 kids, 5 kids at the time? And that was just kind of like, well, let's try to stay together. And I was able to experience lots of great stuff and checking out lots of different parts of the country, and people wanted to show off, you know, the best parts of their town. And my lovely wife, who's a saint in the making, would be home with, you know, poopy diapers and sick kids, and like, I'm glad you're at the beach, but I'm here in the midst of swimming in it.
Yeah,
and so
I'm sure those were great phone calls.
They were.
Yeah.
I mean, that was bonding. Those are memories, and you can't take those away. And so it was kind of like, well, let's just try this all together and see if we could make that work. And what's kind of grown out of there has been this other thing that we didn't really envision. God, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah, right.
And so one of the common themes that people always, when we started traveling, said, "Oh, you're like the Partridge Family, aren't you? You're like those Von Trapps, aren't you? You like the singing, you got all the kids, and you do the music, and that's what they think." And I always hated that. Whenever somebody would say that, a little part of my soul would die, inside.
Yeah.
But we've kind of embraced that especially in the last year, because those are the gifts that God has given us.
Sure.
And instead of being kind of the cheesy showbiz version, we're like, well, what would it be like if it was the punk rock version? Like, have you seen the movie School of Rock?
Yeah.
So like, what if you actually just like did good, cool music, and kids are the ones performing it? Like, could it be that way? And so that's kind of the approach we've taken with our live show too. Is well, let's make music that's not a puppet ministry music. Let's not make childish music, but make music that can have the innocence of a child in
Well,
it.
and one of the things that I really like, I had a chance to see your show when you were in the area. In addition to the technology that you use, that your children have fit into the style of music. You haven't written music specifically as people would expect a young child to sing or play, but they really embrace the fact of growing into the artist that you are and really adding on to that. So I think that inspires people. And you've also done this wonderful thing in your show where you introduce technology. And I have to say that at a point in my life that before I got involved in ministry, I was that guy who maybe went to Mass, maybe showed up, and if my wife told me about any extracurricular activity in the church, I wasn't going.
Yeah.
Especially if I didn't have to be there on a Sunday. But I think that people that come to your show, as I mentioned, with some of the artists that they could probably identify with in their youth or when they were younger, that it gives people across many different listening. It takes people across many different listening likes and desires and maybe what they connect with musically, and it allows them to hear faith-filled music in a different way. And you've also incorporated this video screen. Mm-hmm. What can people that come to your concert, what can they expect from that to bring in that guy who used to be like me that was like, I don't know, this is just a church event, and they come and they go, wow, I never knew church could be like this.
Right. Well, a lot of our events, like when we say that we're doing Catholic music, people have a certain mindset of like liturgical music, or this is what it sounds like on a Sunday, or choirs and organs, and that's a beautiful tradition. That's not what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm coming from a much more kind of secular pop rock version of that, and so originally the technology was just, once again, necessity is the mother of invention. Like, sure. If it's just me, what can I do? Well, I know how to program a MacBook, and I can make the lights do cool stuff, and we can use that every Sunday. And then we started doing things with video screens that had lyrics on them, because people really wanted to dive into the lyrics. As a songwriter, lyrics are really important. Words have meaning, and so they're chosen really intentionally. And then the style of music, sometimes it's hard to hear when you have drums and guitars and the exciting, especially when it gets like the exciting part, they were having a hard time understanding. So we started having the lyrics up, and then we said, well, what if we did video too to add to that?
Yeah.
And just trying to create things that resonate emotionally with people.
Sure.
That's one of the things I love about being Catholic, is that we believe in an incarnate God, a God who leaves heaven behind to come into the mess of life. Right. He was literally born in a barn, people.
Yeah.
He literally died naked on a cross. Like, he gave all of himself. And so there's a lot of richness there that you can draw from artistically, that doesn't just have to be kind of the praise and worship version of it.
Right. Well, and I think that if we look at Scripture itself, it tells us, he spoke to them in parables.
Yeah.
Even the disciples are like, why do you talk to them like that? And he's like, well, they don't understand the same way that you do.
Right.
And I think that what you bring is a new way of understanding for people to connect to something that grounds them in faith. And that is a gift. That is a gift.